Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Kelly with Black Dog Venture Partners, and I'm thrilled to introduce everyone to Tim McGraw. Tim, why don't you share a little bit about your company, a little bit of background about yourself first?
Sure. I'm the founder, CEO of Rare Breed Companies, Rare Breed Health. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, but the last 13 years or so, I've spent exclusively in the natural health, hemp and cannabis industries. And I founded Rare Breed a few years ago to fill a hole. There's a need for a natural health company that sees that this proactive movement towards natural health and away from big pharma and the distrust in all these miracle pills that pharma pushes on us. There's been a serious move towards a different approach, a more natural and proactive, meditation, working out, fitness. And there's not a brand that unifies all those things, right? Everybody kind of thinks that there's the natural health is kind of tree hugger hippie type, into weird things. That's not the case at all. That stereotype of the burnout or that's been erased. The new natural health world is made up of athletes and entrepreneurs and people that just would prefer to go out and for a run and take some natural sleep aid as opposed to go to the doctor and get another pill. So that market is just expanding at an amazing rate. And then the political changes recently with RFK obviously just help
We're going to delve into that in just
support
a couple
that.
minutes, but let's talk about the products. What are the products that you have now, and what are you offering to your customers?
So we initially launched with what we call our 5-in-1 products, which are a combination of nootropics, functional mushrooms, hemp, and terpenes and rare cannabinoids, all mixed together, and
Mhm.
they're amazingly effective. Those are the first three products we launched: was Rare Calm, Rare Focus, and Rare Sleep. Rare Focus being an alternative to Adderall, Rare Sleep, a non-melatonin sleep aid, where you actually wake up feeling good as opposed to drugged. And then our Rare Calm, which is a replacement or an alternative to Xanax. Uh,
Mhm.
so they're natural therapies for stuff that plagues a lot of people or a lot of people deal with. But the next 12 or so products we're launching have no hemp or any ingredients that are restrictive anyway. It's all nootropics and functional mushrooms. So
Mhm.
we're really excited to get those out because those can go directly in the big box.
Right.
So
So let's talk about that. Who are your customers? You mentioned a little bit before, and how are you reaching them? What's going to be your distribution model for the products?
well, it's got to be multi-pronged nowadays, right? If you rely on any one channel, you're going to be in trouble. It's a lot harder now than it used to be. But our customers, first off, is literally, like I said, literally anyone that prefers a proactive or natural approach to health, and that goes across the board from, like I said, pro athletes, elite level athletes, down to academics, or everything in between. And the way to reach them is, like I said, it has to be multi-pronged. Obviously we're selling online, e-com, obviously, but also wholesale, and we're doing distribution with our LFG line to big box. So you got to approach all those a little bit differently, but the main thrust will be in affiliate programs, collaborations with elite level athletes with our LFG line, which is our sports nutrition line. And then obviously you got to spend money to make money in that world too, pay-per-click marketing. But the hopes is that that'll grow pretty steady as we're able to pump money into the marketing end. But what'll really move the needle is some of the big box retail that we have inroads to because of our executive team. That'll really move the needle quickly in the.
I'm glad you mentioned that because obviously you've got a great background, but you brought in some real powerhouses. Why don't you share a little bit about some of the people on the team?
Oh, absolutely. So our most recent addition, Jessica, is our creative director. She comes from Bud Light, Smith and Forge. Oh, shit, I have it in front of me, but Corona, huge campaigns. Some really amazing marketing promotions, because that's obviously, like I've mentioned, a very important part of it. But behind the scenes is our COO is Christina Cole. She comes from My Pillow and My Store. She launched on her own the My Store for Mike Lindell, served as his right-hand man for 5 years. So she's built some huge e-com platforms, and she also, through My Store, has inroads to a lot of big box retail. And then the
Mhm.
other key one would be Jeff Brunel, who comes from Monster, a subsidiary of, I'm sorry, Rain, a subsidiary of Monster. He was the brand manager for the entire brand, $16 million budget. And his biggest addition to us is not only his inroads with wholesale, but is with the affiliates and with the big elite level athletes that he's able to add to our stable. Because as we know, that's the best way to get big steps within the social media world, is who you collaborate and who you affiliate with. So yeah, he's got a huge stable of Reign athletes he's bringing on. But I feel like there's more obviously, but I feel like we have a really good core team that's got the experience, not only mine in the natural health and cannabis and hemp space, for the last 13 years, the highly regulated space, but obviously the CPG world, which we're trying to
Right.
bring together. We don't see them as two separate things. So
So just before we started recording, we were talking about some of the latest events, and you mentioned RFK, and now there's some real possibility that there could be some rescheduling in the space. So why don't you talk about a little bit more how the change in perception from the Department of Health and the change in perception at the federal level, because obviously many states have moved in a positive direction, but talk about how change in possible federal policy from both the health standpoint and a rescheduling standpoint can really supercharge your business.
yeah, I mean, obviously rescheduling is huge just in general for the industry. Access to capital, banking, ability for us to list at some point on American exchanges. That's historic. And it's what it's going to do for retail brands with their tax situations with 280E. So that alone is crazy. But what's already begun, what I mentioned before, is this shift towards proactive health. Ever since, I mean, it's been growing since the late 60s, but ever since COVID, distrust in the FDA, pharmaceutical companies, and the government to tell you how to live, or how to take care of your own health.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much distrust there is, and it's earned. They've earned that distrust, right?
Yeah.
A big pharma is not looking out for your health. They're money first, right? So that's only ramped up since 2020, 2021, where people are like, maybe I start meditating, maybe I join a jujitsu gym, maybe instead of popping another pill, I take some natural therapies. So I think
Right.
it's a booming industry, and uh, I think that it's only going. Oh, I'm sorry. To get back to RFK and the administration, is that's already begun. Both Trump and RFK have both in action and in word supported natural health, hemp, cannabis, the rescheduling. Just the article came out early this morning where Trump again affirmed, he's done it multiple times now, but this one really recently, yesterday, that he's fully behind rescheduling. So RFK is behind rescheduling, Trump's behind rescheduling, and the most recent appointee to the DEA, Cole is his last name, is behind rescheduling. So it's
Mhm.
just obviously there's been other distractions, as we all know.
Right.
But I want to say this though, regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, right? What's undeniable is that RFK, good or bad, or whether you agree with him or not, is changing federal policy away from supporting pharmaceuticals and in fact pushing back against them like nobody
Mhm.
else has before. So the competition, the elephant in the room, big pharma, is being pushed back on, while natural therapies, NADs, hemp, cannabis, mushrooms, all of these are going to be, the tide's going to rise in a serious way for all these, and already had to begun. So you're going to
Right.
see that over the coming months, it's just going to keep going further and further that way. So we're ready for that. Our plan has always been that when rescheduling happens, we're going to bring together a lot of these elements within the cannabis industry and elsewhere to add value to the brand, and hopefully potentially list on a American exchange. So things are falling in line. It's
Right.
kind of theory for a while there. We were worried, but now they're back to confirming this is the route we're going. So
Well,
rare
and you mentioned
spot.
obviously that this has been a trend for not just in the short term, but for generations or decades
Oh, yeah.
about alternative health, and
Correct. I
obviously
mean,
that creates a very competitive market. So maybe share about the industry itself and your competitive advantage with the other players that are out there.
no, that's a great point. There is a lot of white noise when you get into this world. But what you don't find is there's a lot of white label brands out there. There's just a lot of guys kind of just selling, cheap supplements, mixing stuff together. There's no brands that really understand the culture and are immersed in that culture. And like I said, most brands see people that, whether they use cannabis or mushrooms, they see them as burnouts. We don't see them. We see them as super highly successful entrepreneurs and athletes that preferred to take some mushrooms now and again as opposed to taking Xanax on a daily
Right.
basis. So it's the stereotype. Most big large brands have played into it or don't understand how symbiotic these markets are. Whether it's
Hmm.
fitness and sleep and recovery from training, all of these things, all the elite level athletes I know prefer to take natural substances as opposed to go take another magic pill. So
Hmm.
these industries, everybody else sees as separate. We don't. We see proactive and natural health all being part of the same, the driving forward, the recent change towards away from pharma and towards natural. Get some sunshine, get out and go for a jog, whatever, as opposed to just sitting there and relying on pills to do it. So
Right.
yeah.
So obviously you got a solid team around you to help execute, on this. So anything else you want to share with the listeners today?
Well, like I said, I just want to reiterate again, it doesn't really matter how you feel about the administration. There's a lot of things I disagree with, obviously, but this movement, and the support of the federal government in this movement is not changing. There are a lot of these things are going to change for the better, So if you see that upward movement in this industry, it's already been growing for a long time, and the team is obviously very important. I feel like that we have the requisite experience within these industries for over a decade, and the CPG to create this national brand. We've already got a good start. Our products are very well received. Now we just need to put fuel in the rocket ship to get to the next stage, and that's mass distribution.
Fantastic. So where can people learn more about Rare Breed and get in contact with you?
Our corporate website is rarebreedcompanies.com, but the products website is rarebreedhealth.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Rare Breed Health. And yeah, if you want to learn more, you can get my contact information from Scott, and we'd love to talk to you.
Fantastic. Tim, thanks for joining us today. And let's keep our fingers crossed for rescheduling.
We're excited here. It's happening. It's been a little bit scary here and there waiting on it, but now it looks like it's back on track. So we're
Fantastic.
excited.
Tim,
Hi,
Tim,
brother.
thanks
Have a good
again.
one.